Here we go.
Plus, there's no Kansas up here. Look, there's no Kansas.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about relationships. Because in history class, when we study names, dates, and facts, it just doesn't sometimes always make sense. But I bet you 100% that we can make this history actually mean a heck of a lot more to us if we can tie this to something in which we can all relate to. And when we look at relationships, we are looking at the relationships more specifically of certain aspects of our country. Please put your hand up, Philip. Okay? There was no question I was being asked. And so here's what I want to do is that we're going to have a little bit of fun, and I need a gentleman to volunteer for me. Okay? A gentleman. Riley, I want you to choose who's your best man.
Caleb.
Okay, Caleb, come on up here. All right, now, Caleb, I want you to stand right here, sir. Okay. All right, now, and Riley, you are my groom. Okay. Riley's gonna be my groom. Now, like any groom, we got to snazz him up for this special occasion. And Riley, having been being a service member, we're gonna put him up in his dress blues. So we're gonna put him in a nice little suit, and we got a top hat for him. So we're going to give him a top hat. After all, good. So put on your jacket there. And
Can I wear it?
get your top hat. Alright. Very fancy. Very fancy. Alright. Now, today, whether you guys are aware of this or not, is that we are going to be all witness to a wedding. It's a very special moment. Okay, very special moment. In fact, I've got tissues. So usually it's amongst you ladies. There's lots of tears. So I'll start the tissues at this table, just in case, because I know it's a very, very powerful day. And I know, like you were thinking, man, it's just Wednesday. Okay? Or Thursday. No, we already took care of that. Right, so Rachel, you be my photographer. You be my wedding photographer. Okay? Okay. So you're ready to go. Alright, now, whenever you feel like taking pictures, go take pictures, because you're like a photographer. You're in there, you're in the middle, make sure we're capturing the moment, okay? So, alright, so like any great relationship, okay, there's a story that goes with that relationship, okay? There's always that story about how did you meet, okay? How did you meet? And in this particular story, we are looking at, in this relationship, we're looking at Mr. North.
Oh, I did.
We're looking at Mr. North and we're looking at Miss South. Okay? We're looking at Miss South. Now, in this particular marriage, and we look at us in American history, okay, and we're going back before our curriculum. So let's take our minds, let's take ourselves back to the days of 6th grade in the curriculum that you had before this particular moment, okay? And just like any wedding, we have to have 2 adult witnesses, and I'm only 1 adult, so I have to bring in Star Lord.
Yes.
He's gonna be a witness as well. Okay, so he's gonna be a witness. Yeah, he's gonna be a.
Oh my God, he's talking.
I'll tell you what, we'll make him a groomsman as well. So we'll put him on this side. Caleb's will be on this side. Okay, don't be intimidated by Chris Pratt. All right. What brings us together now, as we think of this wonderful wedding, is that what's always great about wedding days. Okay, why are weddings so awesome? Why are weddings so awesome?
Because they're wrong. Cake.
Cake is good. Okay. At your level, yeah. I got cake. Yeah. All right. Cake is good. So there's a celebration. Okay. And when we look at 2 people, or in this particular case, when we look at 2 parts of our country that are coming together, there was a celebration or a celebratory time. Now, like in most relationships, what brought the North and the South together? What brought the North and the South together? Let them go. They're going to let me know when they're ready. Okay? What brought the North and the South together? Philip.
The end of the water, of course.
Nope. That didn't bring them together. That's going to force them together. That's not what brought them together in the first place. The North and the South, what brought the North and the South together? Because if you think about the North and the South, The North and the South are not really all that similar. Okay? Tell me a little bit about the North. Tell me about Mr. North. Tell me a little bit about him.
Mostly industrial.
Mostly industrial, okay? Industrial. Something else about the North. Mason.
He's in the north.
Something else, Mason. We've already covered that. Can you give me something else, Mason, in an accelerated history class? That would be an accelerated history class answer.
What did he say?
You're being recorded for your answers.
No, you're not.
Yes, you are.
I know, I saw it.
I know. Do you want to give me an answer that's going to be something that's going to cover what we're talking about? Tell me something about the North, other than the fact that they're industrial. Yes?
They're largely populated.
Largely populated. Lots of people. Working in factories. In what? Yes?
Oh, I was going to say it's colder up there.
It's colder. Climate-wise, it's definitely not, it's a lot more harsh. You go to a northern city, northern people tend to be a little bit more harsh. They seem to be a lot more impatient. Things down in the South, as they say, are nice and slow. We do everything nice and slow in the South. We even talk slow. Okay? You go up north, it just comes right on out. Okay, I'm from the North. You probably heard a little bit of me. Something else about the
African Americans are free.
African Americans are free. Okay? Yes, in this time period right now, what we're looking at, we are looking at when the North and the South were joined. Okay? When officially were the North and the South joined? When did they officially join and become one? This is like, he's asking a history question. When did they form together officially? Philip?
Around the time the Reconstruction started.
You guys are trying to think ahead as to my curriculum. I'm talking about 6th grade curriculum. So before. Yes?
After the Revolutionary War.
The Revolutionary War ends, and when the Revolutionary War ends, we have what?
Party West Side.
We have a party. We do have a party. At the Battle of Yorktown, when the Battle of Yorktown ends, we celebrate. What are we celebrating?
4th of July.
We celebrate the 4th of July, because we have a reason to celebrate the 4th of July now. But what brought about that 4th of July celebration? Yes, sir.
Independence from Britain.
Independence from Britain. See, much like in a lot of relationships, and you see this sometimes with couples, is that sometimes couples meet through tragedy. You know, you have a couple that somebody pulls somebody from a burning car, and the guy that pulls the lady from the burning car, they fall in love in the hospital, the nurse falls in love with the patient, that sort of thing. Sometimes tragedy brings folks together. Well, this war, this American Revolutionary War, brought the North and the South together. Are they really honestly all that similar?
No.
No, not really. The South, tell me about the South. Tell me about the South. That's how these gentlemen, yes. It's warmer. Okay, the climate is definitely warmer, so we're talking about the opposite of what we got with the North, sir.
Agricultural, like a lot of agriculture.
There's a lot of agriculture, okay? There's a lot of farming. There's a lot of farming going on. Not a whole lot of farming in the North, a lot of farming going on in the South, yes.
Lots of space between land.
Lots of space between land. Population. What about population in the South?
It's a bit lower.
Less people.
It's a great deal lower. It's a great deal lower. In the North, if he's needed to solve a problem, he goes out, he puts a sign on a post and says, I need an employee, I'm willing to pay you this much, and somebody will knock on his door and say, I'm an employee, I don't want to get paid that much. In the South, if I need a field taken care of, is it getting taken care of by me posting a sign?
No.
No, because I don't have any people out there in order to do that. So how does the South solve that particular issue? Yes, ma'am. They find somebody to do that work for them. And in this particular case, what we know about the South is, before the Civil War, that help is what? It's slavery. It's slavery. Okay? Both are solving the same problem, but solve the same problem differently. Much like in Riley's case, is that Riley takes care of his bills his way, his future wife is going to take care of her bills her way. Now when they come together, what's some of the things they have to adjust to whenever they come together? What are some of the adjustments that are made when a couple comes together? Yes?
You're gonna need to learn how to live with each other.
You gotta learn how to live with each other. And that's absolutely 100% exactly what I'm looking for. They gotta learn to live with one another. Because you see, on your wedding day, everything's beautiful. You're talking about the kids that you're going to have, the house that you're going to have, the dog you're going to have, the cats, the whole 9 yards. Everything is all about all the things that you are going to have. But in reality, You got to learn to coexist together in the same house, in the same rules. He's been a single guy. He's been pretty much doing his own thing. Up in Massachusetts, Massachusetts has been doing kind of its own thing until the war comes along. And when the war comes along, it becomes necessary for the North to communicate with the South and say, hey, we got to do this together. Because when we're talking about North and South, okay, as Benjamin Franklin said, if we don't hang together, we'll all hang. Very good. Somebody said it over here. Separately. We'll all hang separately. So in other words, if we don't all fight together, if we don't all unite as these 13 colonies, eventually these 13 states, we will be defeated by the British and we will lose. So South Carolina, the Swamp Fox, beating Cornwallis, all the things that are going on in the South and what George Washington is doing in the North, all of these things all have to be coordinated. And hooray, we win! Where's our bride? Let's see where our bride is. Hold on. I need my best man. My best man. Okay, I need my best man. Okay.
What's up for him?
Oh my god. Well, there's that one. Okay, that one.
The what if he comes in
Okay, good.
as Saturday?
All right.
Did they quit?
They ran away from school.
They quit.
Alright. So first we're gonna do there's tradition when it comes to weddings. We gotta make sure we got the proper tunage.
Yeah, we gotta get the music.
Okay? We gotta get the music. Let's take care of the music
You
first.
gotta get the music. You gotta get random people in the.
Alright, here we go.
We need death metal.
Yes!
I got some confetti.
Okay, that was really good. You did such a great job. But you know, as in almost every wedding that you're a part of, it's a big deal to reveal the bride. So, ladies and gentlemen, we all stand up to honor the future Mrs. North. Come on in, take some pictures there, photographer. Hey, come on up here. Come on up here. Watch out for the train.
She's gonna be.
Oh, you look so great. Alright, let's fix all that shit.
I know.
Hit stop on my iPhone. Hit stop on the iPhone. Not you, Caleb. Over in the corner. Over in the corner. On my desk.
Right
Where the stereo is.
there.
Just hit stop. There you go. Alright. We are gathered here today. Thank you so very much for being a part of this wonderful occasion. You may all have your seats. We are gathered here today in this wonderful occasion where we are to join the North and the South. Having finished off the Revolutionary War, we now bring about this union, and this union of two very different, but at the same time, fighting for one.
Hey, your clock stopped.
Everybody's.
The clock stops.
Philip, not for what we're doing. All right. We bring about two very different, but at the same time, we are brought together through one common cause, and we are brought together to be a part of this wonderful country. We have Ms. South, we have Mr. North. If there's anybody in this room that thinks that these two should not be wed, please leave now or forever hold your peace.
Okay.
Stop it. Oh,
Walking Dead.
that's my phone.
Alright, yes, I'll be doing it.
Go stop. Get to the
Yes.
Oh god, it's the one.
This is
It's
about.
called Stay Young.
This is about.
You know, it's so for your own game.
All right. So, bringing these two folks together is that speak now, forever hold your peace. And as I can see, nobody's having an objection, so we are going to move about with the ceremony. I don't see any hands. I don't see any hands.
I object.
Okay. Now, why do they object? Because some of us know that you're going to give her a bouquet. She's a bride.
That's what I said.
There you go. Where's my photographer? Where's my pictures?
Here, she's done a
Here,
good
take
job.
pictures, take
Come on,
pictures.
Raquel.
Slide in. Come on, we gotta get good pictures here. Gotta get it.
Those four.
Yes, yes, I want to get your book.
We better not.
Awesome. All right. Now,
I object.
Maddie,
Oh, come on.
all right. Why am I going to all of this? Because I think that if we actually were to describe this in the very,
My head thing fell
you
off.
left your bed. You haven't even kissed yet.
Put it back on.
Riley.
Wait. All right, Shannon is finished.
We've got problems on the wedding day. All right. Now, what is it like on the wedding day? What is it like? What are the emotions like on a wedding day?
happy, scared.
Happy? Now, Lauren's right. She brings up two words, the exact opposite. But there's a lot of reality in both of these, okay? They are both very happy, okay? Why are the American states in the early 1780s, why are they so happy? Why are they so happy?
Really nice.
When you're ready, I've asked a question. I'm going to try it again. Why in the early 1780s, why are these two so happy? Yes, ma'am.
They don't need to work for a lot. Life is going to be easy.
Right now, they're at the very beginnings. Okay? We're at the beginnings of a country. What do these two really honestly know about each other? Just like a bride and groom, what do these two really honestly know about each other as far as being able to work together? Not a whole lot. Okay? Their relationship's been basically a couple hundred years, but for the most part, Miss Virginia and Miss South has been doing her own thing for quite some time. It's not until the American Revolution where she decides that she honestly needs a partner, and that partner being the North, and them fighting together. So Riley, him being Mr. Massachusetts and basically the epitome of the North, has really never had to work with anybody until now. And he joins together with Virginia and Massachusetts, two most powerful colonies during at the time of the American Revolution, are joining together to become a part of the United States. So we have the North, we have the South, and as they come together. Now, yes, everything is really, really happy at the beginning. Everything's really happy. And as Lauren says, there is some fear. What is the basis of that fear? What's the basis of that fear? Sir, what's the basis of that fear? A married couple or even our country. What's the basis of our fear? They don't know much about each other. There's a whole lot of gray area out there. There's a whole lot of gray area out there. There's a whole lot of things that Riley doesn't know about Maddie. And there's a whole lot of things that Maddie doesn't know about Riley. And frankly, Maddie doesn't want to know about Riley.
That is true.
This is Charlie True. Now, when it comes to the North and the South, they both know they're very different. They know that they're very different. This is the reason why they haven't spent a whole lot of time with one another until now. But now they're all a part of one united country. Okay? What's the biggest issue after the celebration's over? And after you toss the bouquet, you want to toss your bouquet?
Yeah.
You want to toss a bouquet? All right, toss a bouquet. All right, now hold on. We got airplanes there, so you gotta pay attention to where my airplanes are. So we don't want to toss it towards the airplane. So we're tossing it. Okay, ladies, guys, you don't catch bouquets. That's gross.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies, you want to go catch a bouquet? You want to turn around?
Lands on a guy.
I'm just gonna
She lands on a
Who's my photographer? You catching this?
Yeah.
No, really? Really? You ladies want to catch a bouquet?
Let's get it. I'm never gonna
Who
get
gets
married.
married next?
Get up.
All right, good. All right, go turn around. There's always a couple. Okay, now turn around.
Drop it.
Really? Ready? And don't hit the airplane.
I'm all scared. I'm gonna
Shoot
That's
it.
all right,
Yeah,
don't worry
they didn't even kill us.
Really need to worry about
about it. Just toss it.
Drop the fat man on them.
Ready?
Brady.
On the count of
She lands on a
1,
guy.
2, 3.
Pass it back.
Come on up. We gotta get a picture. Get a picture of the bride. Okay, get that shot. Get that picture. What are you doing?
Come on, hand around the
Get a
arm.
photographer. You're in the middle of all this. Come on up here. Get a picture of them.
Arm
Get
around
the
the
three of them.
Am I walking?
arm around the back.
No, come over here.
Get the camera.
Yeah.
Get a picture.
One time a
Okay. All right. Good. We're not.
Where'd my thing go?
You guys, did you hear one where the flowers like in the air?
Okay.
All right.
That's my
Now-
robot.
as much fun as we're having, let's talk about, let's really try and tie this into with what we're talking about here, okay? In the very early years, is that what is the hardest thing that a married couple has to do in those first couple weeks after they've married? What's the hardest thing they have to do? Sir? They have to get used to each other. They have to get used to each other. And for a while, all of those little things that make you different, Maddie, he thinks is cute for the first couple weeks. For the first month, maybe even cute. Okay? Riley, who never puts the toilet seat down. Never picks up his socks. They're laying all over the floor. There's 18 pairs of underwear underneath the bed. And Maddie, who's trying to do... Maddie, get over here.
You don't understand that, right? You know you don't understand.
Get out of here.
Not yet.
I'm protecting you.
Right. Trying to thank you.
Protect you from your wife. I will.
Now hold on. So they both bring in their own issues. Now, whether it be the real life issues of a husband and wife and the issues that they have to deal with and what they bring into it. Riley brings in his whole household full of guy furniture, okay? Milk crates and old couches and a TV that really doesn't work. She brings in her nice stuff, and he doesn't want his stuff getting thrown away, although she wants to throw it all away. Okay? That's the reality. But now we're talking about North and the South. What are the differences between the North and the South that are going to start creating friction immediately? Okay?
The North hates slavery.
Well, when we talk about the North hating slavery, okay? Hold on. We have to, when you guys as history students, when we look at this issue, you guys see it as very black and white because that's what you've always been told. But let's talk about Riley and how he solves his problems, okay? Riley's going to post a sign and he's going to say, hey, I'm looking for an employee, okay? But he's going to pay his employee. You as a business owner, how much are you paying your employee?
2 cents.
As little as you possibly can. As little as you possibly can. Why? Because that's how you make profit. That's how you make money. So he's going to pay his workers as little as he possibly can. What if your worker doesn't work very well? Raise your hand, please. Yes, ma'am.
You don't pay them.
You don't pay them, or even better yet,
Or fire them.
I can fire them. Riley can deal with any one of his employees he doesn't like by simply getting rid of them. Does Riley honestly care what that employee does the second he fires him and lets him go?
No.
No. If he's homeless and living on the street and he's struggling to make a living, he doesn't care. He runs a business. That's his job. La 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 la. I can care less about my employees. I'm going to pay them as little as I possibly can. I don't care how rough their life is. That's his existence. So while you're sitting here talking about the North hates slavery, this may be so. But let's look at that gray area of slavery, okay, that Maddie brings into this marriage. Okay, now first of all, it's the thing that Maddie's had to do to be able to solve her problem. She's got a big old field and there's not a whole lot of population down there to be able to do it. Okay, so she has to purchase her workers. Yes, she's purchasing her workers and she's bringing them to her plantation. Now, is it in Maddie's best interest to beat her employees to the point where they don't want to work?
No.
No. In fact, think about this. What gets you to work better? Incentives or punishment? Incentives. You work harder if you're treated well. So there are many plantations in the South, and we have to look at this gray area here, and we have to actually acknowledge this, is that there were many plantations in the South and where slavery, yes, it existed, but it's in her best interest to treat them as well as she can. Yes, they're her property. Yes, they can't leave. But at the same time, you don't buy a dog and beat it. Okay? You buy a dog and you want it to stay there, you want it to be there with you. So there are many plantation owners, and there are many plantations where the slaves, that we call them, really don't mind the existence that they have. Yes, were they taken away from their wives? Were they taken away from their kids? Yes. Was that traumatic? Absolutely. But once they got to their plantations, there were many of them that were actually treated very civilly. Okay? So while we're talking about that hating slavery thing, okay, this is a necessary evil for her. That's her workers. But she's also feeding them, clothing them, and giving them a place to stay. And if they're sick, whose job is it to take care of them? Hers. Do you care? If they are sick 3 days in a row, you fire the guy and you don't care if the guy dies in the gutter. So let's talk. So when we talk about who's the more righteous, okay, this is an issue. It becomes the issue. But this issue isn't as black and white as we might like to think it is. Okay? So the South brings into this marriage her baggage of slavery. And the South simply says, as Abraham Lincoln would say, does Abraham Lincoln actually want to get rid of slavery? No. Does he believe slavery is a good thing? No. He simply says, I'm not going to allow slavery to exist in new territories. I acknowledge you've got your slaves, and I know you've got your property, but at the same time, I don't want you to bring any more slavery in. Now, as the country's expanding, who's coming into the country?
More slaves.
No. All his friends. All his buddies. You can imagine a household and where all his buddies are coming over, and she's not allowed to have any friends come over. How's she feeling?
Feeling bad.
Bad? Can you give it the 7th grade terminology? How does she feel if she's not allowed to grow her part of the country the way she wants to grow her part of the country? Sir?
Annoyed?
Annoyed. Annoyed. At first, annoyed. That's a really good word. It starts out with annoyment. Okay? Because just like a happy couple, those things that didn't bother you at first start to grate on your nerves a little bit. Okay? The little problems start becoming big problems. And Riley happens to come home one day and he's just like, you know what? Why don't you just simply get rid of those slaves? Why don't you get rid of those slaves? And this starts a fight. How much money was devoted to the slave industry at the height of the pre-Civil War South? Anybody have any idea? In today's money? Take a guess. Mason.
$500.
No. Sir. Billions. Billions. How many billions? Ma'am. Higher. Philip.
55.
Lower.
29.
30. $30 billion was invested in slavery in the South, and you just told her to get rid of them. You basically told her to throw away $30 billion. You didn't say, hey, sweetie, we got those inventions, we should come along with those inventions, and we should work on kind of getting rid of slaves. You just simply said, you got to get rid of them. Now, how does that make you feel? All your friends got to go away.
I'm divorcing him.
Regret.
Think about this. The beginnings of the Civil War are an awful lot like a divorce or divorce proceedings. Okay? For a long time, these two have been trying to get along. They try and compromise, and they have rules with each other, and it's like, well, what if one of my friends comes over? Are they allowed to come over? And he says, well, they can come over, but I don't want them going into my rooms. And every once in a while, one of her friends goes into one of his rooms, and he's like, wait a minute, I told you they couldn't go into the rooms. And he's like, well, they didn't know, and all this thing just all gets blown up, and eventually at one point, just like Maddie said, you know what, I've had this, I'm tired of this, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Now, that's not unreasonable. We see this all the time when it comes towards broken marriages. We have two sides that quite honestly are just simply not getting along. Okay? Now, you as the North, do you depend upon your wife for anything? What do you depend upon the South for?
Supplies.
Supplies. What do you talk about as far as supplies? Maybe some of the supplies that you depend upon for. Now, cotton. Okay? Raw materials. What other raw materials are you getting from the South? Okay? Meats. Yes?
All different types of vegetables.
All different types of food that are being grown in the South. All these things are all brought to the North. They're helping feed. Okay? In other words, she's making money that's helping take care of the house. And if she leaves, there's a part of you that's saying, uh-oh, how am I going to live? How am I going to live? Now, you in the South, do you need Riley?
No.
Not really. Not really. She's got all the raw materials. What does the North have?
Nothing does your money.
Has the factories that are making stuff from her raw materials. Can she go someplace else with her raw materials and get her stuff made?
Yeah.
Where can she go?
North.
Raise your hand, please. Where can she go? Where can the South go and take her raw materials and get the money she needs to live? Ma'am? No, not quite. Mexico's still not a very developed country. It's a good guess, but not quite. Ma'am? England. In other words, have we not, is this not one of the oldest stories in the book when it comes to divorce? She doesn't need you. If she really honestly wants to, she can leave you for another guy. Okay? Riley is suddenly getting mad. We're just playing here. We're just playing. Riley all of a sudden gets a little upset. Okay? She can leave. She can leave. Now, does that make you feel a little vulnerable? of course, she really doesn't need you. She can walk away. And in fact, she's so sick and tired of your rules and you telling her what to do, that's exactly what she tries to do. She tries to leave. She tries to leave. Like in many divorced households. And I'm really sorry if this is hitting really close to home for some of you, but at the same time, we have to see this as something bigger than just a history subject. Because the emotions that are tied in the breaking up of a household are the same emotions that were tied into the breaking up of a country. Okay? And coming from a divorced household, I mean, I know this all too well, exactly how this got when I was a little kid. Okay? Riley, if she leaves, what are you going to do? You going to be mad? He doesn't seem to be all that Dustin and Maddie right now. He's like, she leaves, whatever. He gets his broken TV. I get back all my milk crates. If she leaves you. When you guys came together in the American Revolution, if you remember, everything was great, everything was wonderful, everything was absolutely the greatest thing since sliced bread. And over the past 50, 60, 70 years, you guys have been falling apart. The South tries to leave. When South Carolina votes to secede and votes to leave, does South Carolina pick up a gun and start shooting at the North? No. South Carolina tries to leave the Union. The South tries to leave the country. Maddie tries to leave her husband. Now, let's think about this in terms of what's now going on here. The South is trying to leave the North. This is the formation of the Confederacy. And, as you can imagine, in one of these sorts of relationships, not only does Maddie leave, but Maddie takes all of her friends with her too. All those people have been getting along, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, they all leave with Maddie. And they all leave. How does it make you feel? How does it make the North feel? How does it make the North feel? How does it make the North feel?
Really, really bad.
Really angry. How dare you leave? Those are my friends too. This is our country. This is our house. This is our stuff. And you're quitting on it? You gonna let her go? But Maddie leaves. And you can go. Go ahead. Miss South, go back and you can go back to your seat. You're your bridesmaid.
That was such a nice one.
Stay over here.
It's like a
Yeah,
so bad.
That's awesome. You guys did a great job of putting together the dress. Alright, now, before I'm done with my North, because it's going to start getting a little ugly. Let me know when you're ready, Maddie. It's okay.
Really sit down and let it rest.
I know, it's very difficult. I always have a difficult time sitting down and dress. Now, let's take a look at the North. Your wife's now gone. She's now left. Not only did she leave, but the South is going to, not only did she leave, but she's taken things out of the house that weren't technically hers. She's taken things that were yours. She's gone to some of the armories and she's taken some of the weapons. Some of the forts that were a part of the United States are now Southern forts. The guns that were in those forts are now Southern guns. They now have taken them over. So your country that you've tried desperately to hold together, your wife that you've tried to keep into this relationship has just left. What are you going to do? Drag her back. Now, as you can imagine, ladies, how did you just respond to that statement? Hold on, I want from a lady. How did you just respond to that statement? How did you respond to that statement? Riley has just admitted to physical assault. Riley is going to bring back his wife by beating her. Now let's think about this. Let's think about this. Okay? How does a civil war begin? How does the Civil War begin?
Good
I want to take it off, but do one or the other. Listen to me, please. Yes.
The South Carolina has the North wanting them and the North wants it back. What is South people?
South Carolina has something that belonged to the North, at least according to the North anyway. Okay? There's a fort that's in Charleston Harbor called Fort Sumter that used to be a Union fort. It's now been taken over by the Confederate. It's now been taken over, and Riley wants it back. It could be something as stupid as an iPhone or a broken TV, and Riley wants it back. So he goes to wherever Maddie is, and he tries to get that iPhone back. And when he goes down there to try and take it back, okay, and think about the early years of the war. Who wins the early battles of the Civil War? The South does. So can you imagine the angry Riley, who has left his comfort of his North, the comfort of his house, the house that is now broken, and he has gone down to wherever Maddie is to go get his iPod, his iPhone, and when he shows up at her door, what does she do to him? She hits him with a frying pan.
Yeah.
And Riley's knocked for a loop.
I told you
Now,
to win.
Maddie's going to argue. What's Maddie going to argue? In a relationship, what is she arguing? Yes, sir.
The kids.
Now, we haven't got to that yet. What is she arguing? Yes. You're not going to bring me back, and you're not taking back any of the stuff I've taken with me. The stuff I've taken with me is mine, and I am leaving, and I'm not coming back because I just saw... And quite honestly, Maddie's whole issue is not so much the fact that she doesn't respect the North. It's just that they're different. The South says, we are different from you. We can't be together. We are going to be different. We are going to just accept it, Riley.
Embrace
We're going to
them.
be our own country.
Embrace them.
And you're going to stop talking while I am. And we are going to live our life. That's all the South asks. Allow us to be our own country. And you don't respect that, and you go to her house and try and take back stuff that you believe is yours. She hits you with a frying pan. Now, if you are one of Riley's friends, Riley comes home, he's got a big old knot on his forehead. Caleb sees him and goes, Riley, dude, what happened to you? And Riley tells the story. I went and tried to get my iPhone back, and she hit me with a frying pan. Caleb, what's the advice that you pass along to Riley?
Like that.
We got to go back down there and we got to go get it. How dare she think that these things are hers? So we have the Battle of Manassas. So, again, why is the South winning the early years of the war? Why is the South winning the early years of the war? Mason.
Because they're fighting on their own turf.
They're fighting on their own turf. Every time, Riley, you are going to where she is, to a house that she knows, and she knows how to defend it, and she can see you coming. It is easier to defend than it is to attack. And every time you go into the South, you're getting beat, and you're coming home, and you're even more angry than you were when you started. You're more angry than you were when you started. When a couple gets divorced, what are those emotions like? What are those emotions like? Raise your hand, please. I'm hoping that most of you, if not all of you, have no idea. That would be really, really great if you had no idea. But if you watched it in a movie and you've seen it on TV, describe the emotions that go with divorce. Because if you can describe that, then you can describe the emotions that go into the Civil War. Yes?
Stress.
Yeah. There's a little bit of stress. Okay? A lot of tension. Okay? You two can't communicate with one another because you are so ticked off. And sometimes you hear about this. I'm not speaking to him.
But Mom, you gotta talk because you have to. He wants to know.
I'm not going to respond to that. And you kids are caught in the middle. He says he's not talking to you. Will you tell her? He says he's not talking to you either. So it is very stressful. What else? What other emotions? Yes?
They see a different viewpoint of each other.
beautiful. They both believe they're right. He believes he's right in doing what he's doing. She believes she's right in doing what she's doing. So every single time, you think about this, every single time he comes down to her house, where all of her friends are down here with her, and you show up at her door asking for something that's really not yours, and you try and take it back, every time she hits you with a frying pan, guess what her friends are doing?
I'm getting stronger.
Yeah! Way to go, Maddie! Yeah! And they are now in more defense of her because they have seen you go to her door to try and get it back. They don't like you, they don't respect you, and this war is going to escalate to a point and where it's going to get out of control. We're missing one step.
Yeah.